How hard was it to do the 20 years in prison?
That's like asking somebody, what was the first time you got laid? All right. It's inexplicable to explain it to you. It's like the old story of one guy's tied to a stake and they're hitting him over the head every 15 minutes with a club. And then another guy comes and he's tied to the next stake. And the new guy says to him, how can you take this? And he said, it's not so bad once you get used to it.
And that's prison for you.
Yeah, day by day, one day at a time. Redundancy, idiocy, and consumed anxieties. And the worst two things are having your sexual drive taken away from you. You can't be with a woman for 20 years and you have no privacy. And how could I possibly ever describe that to you or anybody else on this planet?
Sure.
All I can tell you is don't go.
What was it like to get out?
First day of spring, and you see the most beautiful girl on the planet walking down the street in a pair of tight jeans, and you're in your pickup truck, and you want to pull her and pick her up and take her to the river with a bottle of whiskey and make love to her till hell freezes over and then melt the ice. That's what it was like.
So was it difficult getting out, considering that your skill set was a drug dealer? You get out 20 years later, and you don't want to go back into that again.
Well, it's an ex-DEA agent told me, who chased me around forever. He told me, he said, I know you, and he said, I know you've gone straight now, or whatever. He said that you're too old, and he said, if it was the old days, he said, the moment you walked out of there, you would have been on a plane to South America, ready to go again. And he said, you just went to Sacramento and rented an apartment.
When you look at the sentencing for drug dealing, and recently Obama wanted to take steps for lowering sentences for nonviolent offenders, do you feel that drug dealing sentences are fair now, or they're unfair?
They instituted the mandatory sentencing, which is a draconian law, and it's completely unfair. And I spent time with 20-year-old kids in federal prison that had a handful of crack cocaine. They were given 25, 30 years. And they used to come to my room and cry. And the majority of them were black, and it's a racial bias law, and it's ridiculous. It needs to be changed. And we have a correctional system in the United States of America with 2.5 million people in prison. More people than anybody place in the world, even more than China. All for non-violent crimes and all for drugs. And more people die in this country from obesity, and sugar is the ultimate heroin and killer in the universe, all right? Not cocaine, not heroin, and certainly not marijuana. The only thing anybody's ever died from marijuana is maybe an overdose of brownies. And it's ludicrous, and it's ridiculous, and it's draconian, and it needs to be changed, and people need to wake up to that fact. But this is a great country. It's a democracy. And how do you change the law? Through the political system. It's a democracy. You vote. And people need to get off their ass and vote and change the laws. And hopefully this will all happen. But it's happening in my lifetime, which I never thought it would, the legalization of marijuana, which hopefully it's going to happen in California next. And people will look back 50 years from now, and they'll be standing on the streets smoking a joint or whatever, and there's no comprehension that people spent all this time in prison or paid all this dues or whatever, because it's like I could be standing on a cement, parking lot where there used to be a beautiful beach. And so to the person, there used to be a beautiful beach here. But that person doesn't care that there used to be a beautiful beach there. All they care about that kid that day is to get in his car and go pick up his girlfriend and go to some place where there is a beautiful beach. And you can, expound on history and the facts of it all or whatever and what happened to you or the misery or whatever. And look at the Holocaust. How many people want to talk about that or even care? How many kids or whatever? It's of no consequence to them. It's like children, the youth of America or the youth of the world, they live in the present and the future. And when you get old as hell like me, you are consumed in the past. And you realize that constantly relating the past is really no consequence. Let's talk about now and the future, and hopefully things will change. And we won't become the industrialized prison system of the world. But who am I to say? I am just another soothsayer in the flea market of the world, of the universe. And, time will tell, and time will march on.
At one time, the Medellin cartel was supplying 90% of the cocaine in the United States. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe that to be so. I mean, there was other countries, Bolivia and what have you, but that happened to be a market at that time. In fact, the market wasn't that huge in the beginning. The kilos sold for $60,000 a kilo of pure cocaine, which spreads at 187, okay, on the thermometer. And the market only was for wealthy people in America. And then they reduced it down to supply and demand. They oversupplied, of course, when you're oversupply, you become Walmart, and all of a sudden it's selling for next to nothing. Cocaine is nothing but it's a passing phase. It passed on and moved on. Now, what do the kids do today? I don't know. They love smoking marijuana, which is has the intensity of 1,000 suns and nothing compared to the Mexican marijuana. And they're stealing, narcotics out of the medicine cabinet that their parents have prescribed, prescription drugs or whatever. I mean, people are going to do drugs forever. And drugs are not a problem, okay? The problem is guns, all right?
Okay.
We produce far more guns than we do drugs, all right? And we want to give everybody a gun. Drugs don't kill people, guns kill people. And yet, you could be a sociopath, all right, and go and get a gun tomorrow, anywhere. You know what? It's a total madness. And, I mean, last 2 days, somebody went to a place in Arkansas or whatever and shot people there, and the other day, a kid from school. And but does anybody care? No, the DEA wants to go out and kick down some kid's door with 100 kilos of pot growing plants.
I'm a fan of Drake. I'm a fan of the idea of Drake, so no disrespect against Drake.
What do you mean by the idea of Drake? What does that mean?
Meaning that if he has a ghostwriter, he's an idea. He's not meaning that it's a perception created that he's not really writing the lyrics, and it's just like here, let's make this in the factory and put it out.
I'm just on top of my game right now, Vlad, and I'm just getting blessed. I'm booked 4 or 5 times a week, 60, 75K a show, man. I'm winning right now, man, and I'm just steady trying to increase my hustle.